He kept kicking me under the table, and I didn't care for it.
Man, I think nobody gets enough time on the Golden Toad.
Well, not just that, I have actually stabbed my friend Tony in the hand with a steak knife at a TGI Fridays, and I almost cut his finger off. And I didn't mean to do it. It happened, and it didn't take a lot of effort. So you can do it. It doesn't take much effort to cut off a man's finger.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Smash!
Hello and welcome to Movie Smash, a show where we dive headfirst into comic book movies outside the MCU. If you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. If you've been here before, you know the drill. Each episode, we're going to smash through a movie whose source materials from a graphic novel or a comic. Is it worth revisiting? Should it be forgotten? Let's find out. This is Movie Smash. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Roberts. I'm the founder of Off Panel Creations. With me today, I have a man who I have seen his conspiracy board, Jeremy Parmentier.
This is Jeremy Parmentier, also the Retrovaniacs podcast, and I will dance with the Golden Toad.
And also with you today, a man who has a wide assortment of metallic toads, Fergel Amayo.
Do I have metallic toads? I actually have amazing action figures and amazing collectibles and nerd stuff, man. This is Fergel Amayo, Gotham Knight Comics, your resident in-house nerd historian, and I'm just meh about this movie, but I love the fellas. Let's do it.
Our movie tonight is 2014's 13 Sins, starring Mark Webber, Devon Graye, Tom Boyer, and Ron Perlman. Directed by Daniel Stamm.
You think this is a game?
This is not swatting flies anymore.
Some contestants think they can walk away. There's only one way.
If you fail to complete a challenge, you will lose everything.
13 is the end. You see, that's the true objective of the game. To show that anyone can be turned into a monster.
So this movie, guys, this is actually one of our Halloween episodes, and I'm hoping it sort of fit that mold for us. But before we jump in the actual movie, had you guys read this Thai manga before?
I didn't even know it existed until when I started looking at this movie, I'm like, what in the hell? Is this another one of those Cemetery Man things? But it is not. I don't even know if we call this a comic book adaptation, or is it chicken or the egg for this particular story? I'm not so sure. I'll let the other folks chime in.
Yeah, no, I had clearly never read this, and I did find it online. You can find it, but it's not translated at all, so I don't understand one word of the manga. Now, that said, after watching this, I went
Thai?
back. I don't speak Thai. I barely speak English. So I was not able to read Thai specifically as well. So I went back and read it, kind of, looked at it after I watched the movie to see like what is translated over to this, because this isn't even let's be fair, this isn't an adaptation of this manga. This is an adaptation of a movie that was an adaptation of a manga. So it's like, yeah, it's fairly distant from the source material. That said, there was things in the source material that were in this movie, which is surprising. And
you
actually, I think
more, because I only found a page on Webtoons.
Oh no, I found all of it.
I wasn't going to go digging, but I found a page on Webtoons, and I was like, I got it translated, so all the outskirts of the page were English, but the comic itself was amazingly Thai. And it was like, what am I reading here?
Nope, I went through it had everything in order, so I was able to read it without understanding one word of it, and I did read through the whole thing. So I did see kind of what was taken and what wasn't. Interesting take on it. But no, didn't do it until after I saw the movie. So no, beforehand, I promise you I probably would have seen this movie. Somehow I haven't, and we'll talk about that, because I pull crap like this all the time off Tubi and other places, and I would never have known that it was based on a comic. And so we will talk more about the movie itself. But no, I had no idea at the time that it was based on a manga.
Yeah, I tried searching as well for a translated copy of this. You type in the Google machine, you say translated copy, blah, blah. And the only thing I found was a translated website to purchase this manga, but it would take about 2 to 3 weeks to get
You
here.
guys had a lot more success on Google than I did. And that would be a first. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be a first, because I'm really good at Google. And I couldn't find shit on this book. I was either Google wasn't translating effectively, but I was digging again, just to try. That's why I found a page. I was like, well, I found a page. I guess I can say I found a page, but Jeremy's over here like, I picture read the book.
Well, Fergel, the problem is that you use Google. I still use Ask Jeeves. So,
Jeremy, you said this the first time you've seen this. This is the first time I've seen it. Fergel, because made it from a comic book, I assume you've seen this at least a dozen times.
Well, so, let's start with the fact that this isn't actually a comic adaptation, except for a few of Jeremy's points. And I can only take Jeremy's points because he found the entire book. So there you go on that. But I didn't, this entire movie, again, as I state, and I'll state again, I love horror movies. I love horror movies. I love body horror. I love horror. I love good horror movies. But for having a good cast, this movie was incredibly meh.
Well, let's save that review for when we get deeper into this. We don't want to spoil it for our listeners. And you keep saying it's not. It is an adaptation of a movie based on a comic book. So it is technically based on a comic book as root source material. But why don't we jump into it so we can start talking about what we truly love about this movie. So if this is your first time joining us, just a quick heads up. We're going to be discussing certain elements of the story that might be considered spoilers. But if you haven't seen this abandoned love child of the movie Seven and the movie The Game, we're about to really ruin it for you. So consider yourself warned. Jeremy, could you walk us through the plot of this thing?
Sure. This movie follows, as we follow, Elliot Brindle, kind of a guy down on his luck. You see him lose his job at the beginning of the movie. He's got a wife on the way, or a wife with a baby on the way. His brother's supposed to move in with him that has special needs. His father's getting thrown out of his house. So he's got to carry the whole world on his back, and he's lost his job. And he seems to be a big disappointment to everyone. But he gets this mysterious phone call that gives him a chance to take on an increasingly beneficial series of tasks, to total 13, hence the title of the movie. If he can complete them all, he will get rich beyond his dreams. However, if he fails these challenges or tells anyone about what he's doing or why he's doing these things, he will lose everything he's done so far and face consequences for what he's done in the name of these challenges.
We should talk about next steps, because that was the entire movie. You did great, Jeremy.
I didn't tell you the ending. I gave you I didn't go through all the tasks. I tried to make that short and concise.
That was beautiful. That was
amazing.
That was beautiful.
I was going to say that was good, bro. I was going to give you props on that one.
So when we start with Elliot Brindle, the character himself, did you guys see his motivation as why he would go down such a dangerous path?
I mean, that's part of the meh of the movie. I mean, so my son and I, we rewatched Batman, the Joker one, like Dark Knight Returns, I don't know, something like that. It was a great, obviously Heath Ledger, such a phenomenal performance. And we were watching, why he does what he does, the Batman Joker interaction, and just love that. Love an idea where you get kind of crazy like that and people will lose their shit and go. But this guy jumped a lot of ships really damn fast. And I was like, wow, okay, over a phone call? Okay, I got you. That's a lot of shifts.
Well, he had, you saw at the beginning, he was already kind of holding out hope that he'd get he thought he was going to get a promotion from this job meeting that starts. And instead, he gets laid off. Again, his boss knows that he has a child on the way. He doesn't know about that his brother's going to have to move in with him. He doesn't know about his father. All these things happen that basically put him in a smaller and smaller box.
Full beatdown, man. He got a full beatdown by his dad. I mean, he feels sorry for the brother. He's got the family. I mean, he had the full beatdown, bro. Anybody'd be beat down by that. But to jump the level of tasks, the way they continued to move through, and there was this interesting take of this thing's going back for decades and years and all kinds of stuff, and maybe his entire family. You had some really cool lines, and you just went completely okay, that was meh.
You start out the first challenges he has really aren't, it's kill a fly that's been bothering him anyway, and then eat the fly. And when he kills a fly, he gets $1,000 that comes across, and it's a phone app that says hey, you just got $1,000, and he sees it in his bank. And it's eat this fly, and he eats the fly, and it pays off his entire credit card. It's a big amount of money. He's out on his luck. He's got nothing going on for two tasks that are, no one wants to eat a fly necessarily, but we've all eaten flies. I guarantee it. Maybe not on purpose. We've all been to picnics. We've all been to McDonald's. We've all eaten flies. It happens. That said, to get paid off your credit card balance, and it wasn't obscene, although maybe that just says a lot for my credit card balance, but it was $3,000 plus, paid off immediately. His credit card covers, it's wow, for those two tasks, I just was given more money than I could have imagined in my regular job. And those are simple tasks.
Yeah, but the line in the sand, at some point, okay, I get that. You've made a great case for a few of the tasks, but then as it just jumps the gun and jumps the ship, it goes from X to Y to Z, and you're like, what in the effing hell?
But he doesn't have the ability to back out then. He's in. He's locked in, and he's already, we're going to get into the plot, but your question was, do you understand why
You're just going to lose money if you back out.
Hold on. The question was, do you understand why he started down this path? And I think, yes, the first two challenges before he has to make a definite decision are very simple. And he's got all this stuff that's happened that's made his life miserable. And this is a window out. It's everyone wishes, I know for a fact all three of us have been in a place where we were if only I had X, and all of a sudden he gets it. A phone call, he gets this money that he needs. He's got a window out. He's got a chance to make this work. He's got to figure out how to pay for his dad to not move into his house, to find his brother assisted living, because it's not like he's just like, oh, my brother needs to live with me. His brother needs like full-time care. So this is all stuff that like he's got this window. You can see why he would do it. Now, is it over the top ridiculous the way all this stuff happens? Like his dad's a complete shithead. I would be like, yeah, no, I'm not helping you, old man. But still, like it puts him in a place where you're like, okay, I can kind of see why he would go on this path. So I think, to answer your question, Chris, yes, I do think they define, like the character does explain why he would start down this path. He's kind of a loser you want to support.
That was a really good explanation. I totally agree with every point. It's just, again, the premise. If I were watching this movie, to your point, I would never have found this. If someone hadn't brought this to my attention, I never would have found this. So like if we hadn't done this, this would have stayed lost in the ether world. But
we'll get to review in a bit. But I think we'll get to some more motivation. But the point is, it was like he's basically being boiled alive, right? Like by like a lobster. Like the water starts off cool, tepid, and it's getting hotter and hotter as it goes along.
For sure.
And we'll get into the actual plot in a bit, but why don't we switch gears a little bit, because obviously Elliot's very contentious for the.
But also, let's point out before we move on, Chris, that Elliot is played by Mark Webber, who was Stephen Stills in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a movie we've talked about. So there you go.
I didn't notice that until after the movie, until I got near the end of the movie. I'm like, yes, he did. He looked completely a little bit different, but yeah, very cool.
Yeah, he was a guitar player. He's older, but still, that's a movie we've talked about. There's a connection. You know what? We're barely tying into this comic book connection this time. We're going to make it all work.
If it's all in the same universe, that was just dope.
Well, what about his brother? How do you feel about his brother's portrayal?
Well, he acts like he's a contestant. So, I mean, that's where I think Jeremy, your point begins to fall. He's a contestant.
Let's just wrap this up. It's over. Movie's done. We've already covered all the plot points
yet, Fergel.
We're good points. Let's go back and delete that from the question. So, do you think he did a good job of portraying his brother? And I would say yes. He's got kind of not quite Rain Man-y, but it's that same kind of like he's able to work. He's had a job. He's trying to deal with the real world, but he obviously clearly can't live on his own. He can't take care of himself. And he has been, he's lost the funding or whatever that kept him in his previous home. But he definitely loves his brother and he's relies on his brother, but he also has no filter because he's got, some kind of severe either autism or something on the spectrum. But he definitely I thought he did a good job, and we'll talk more about that character later, I'm sure. But I thought he did a good job at portraying without coming across as like, oh, this is somebody trying to go like full blown, like, what's the thing they say in, what was the movie with?
Don't go full retard.
Yeah, wait, I wasn't going to say it, but I'm glad you did. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
They didn't do
There's
it. He did a good job.
Don't go full retard?
It's Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, I was trying to dance around it without murdering the name Tropic Thunder. That would have helped me immensely.
You're quite welcome.
He did not do that. He said, I thought it was a very good portrayal of somebody that might have those kind of needs.
Yeah, that's the quote from the movie. Now, who says it?
That would have had to been Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. says it. That's right.
He was the one pushing boundaries in that movie. No, I think he did a good job. I think he did as an actor. I think he wasn't horrible. They had great actors in this movie. That's what made the whole thing now, is they had great actors in this movie.
Let's talk about the father.
Was he
over the top?
Yes, but I do believe that by the end of the movie, that is somewhat explained without giving away any plot. But I do think that his father comes across at first as like a totally unbelievable, like the amount of pressure he puts on him when he finds he lost his job. He basically is like, you're a loser. I always knew you'd be a loser. And you're like, Jesus Christ, that's over the top.
Isn't our job to give some of that plot away? I think he's definitely
we will.
Over the top.
Let's get to the plot section. We're just establishing the cast. People understand who we're talking about.
This gets to Cemetery Man level in some thought processes where we have to get that plot out early sometimes. But go on, please.
Well, why don't we jump into Ron Perlman as Detective Chookiat?
Chookiat. Is it Chookiat or Chookiat? I couldn't say it right if I tried.
He just looks like a bulldog in a trench coat.
He always looks like a bulldog. You can't hide that face. That's why he looked great as Hellboy, because you just can't. That face is always there. It's a very unique face.
I wish he had more of a part in this movie, but he plays a very, very secondary role. I thought he was much larger than he was.
I would argue that he does have a larger role than you think he does, but I also think that I'm glad he wasn't in there more because it allowed what his function is in the movie to work. I think if you had a lot more FaceTime with him, it would not have worked out as well as it did for his purpose in the movie.
There was one character I did want to bring up. His name is Vogler. He was the guy that had the conspiracy board in the RV.
He was in Constantine. He was also in the Constantine movie. He was the priest in Constantine. So
he
again,
was.
another good actor who had a great, and again, the thought process. So, you start going back to other movies where the premise is somewhat similar in this movie. I mean, there's a few of them like this where the premise is simply similar. They had an interesting hook into that backstory. I mean, the movie was short, but it felt long. That's because it's meh. If it had really just explored a little bit more of some of that really cool plot point instead of just getting it in and getting it out, I think the movie would have gone past meh.
He also played Superman's father in the new Superman movie. He's Kent.
He is Jonathan Kent. He is. Yes, he is. It just took me a minute because he's a bigger, older guy in this.
He's also the therapist in Office Space. Look, we can just talk about this guy all day, and that's fine.
He is the best part of the movie.
No, he is good, though, because at first you're not sure what his motivations are. And I think he's good because instead of having a whole bunch of immediate explanation, they use him to explain a lot of the background that you might not have.
Just blow him in his head if it's him. Shoot him between his eyes. Come on. Then you just explore that and let that go. He had a great line in that movie. I won't give away the plot point, but that was a great line.
And what was Elliot's fiance's name? Was it Shelby?
Shelby.
She was pregnant, and she was like, fuck no, I'm not doing none of this stuff. So she had common sense.
Well, and she had enough edge to her that when he starts doing some of the more crazy things he needs to do for his challenges, it made sense that she didn't walk away.
Yeah, but then
she didn't know everything, but the stuff that she did see and did kind of like have to piece together, she's like, well, you know what? You're trying to surprise me for this wedding, which at first is a little unbelievable. But then when he actually does things and she sees it, he kind of makes it work where she understands, okay, I'm going to, this guy's out there anyway, but I'm staying in with this guy. But he doesn't tell her, here's what I'm doing, which I liked.
Well, he clearly married up at the very end of the movie, so I won't give away any of the movie, but let me just simply say he clearly married up in terms of decision-making process from the get-go. So, Jeremy, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, we've all been at that point. I think when she's at that point, she's making better decisions than all three of us combined.
I thought you were going to say, we talked about the beginning of the point, we also have all married up, which is also true. So, I'll take it.
So let's jump on the plot. I know, Fergel, you're biting at the bit to get there. This movie opens up with a scene at a banquet hall. Now, does this movie set the tone properly? The scene set the tone properly?
I just sort of, I don't know, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I just kind of I'm more just trying to follow this guy as he, I think I got caught. And when I'm remembering back, because I watched it earlier this morning. So the only thing that's really sticking with me, and not without going through scenes, is the guy and his journey from the job as he continues, because I'm really focused on this guy as he takes himself through his loss of his job, the excess weight that gets piled on him there, and as he continues to move, and as he's leaving for work, and he's like, oh, don't forget to kiss the baby, and boom, boom, boom. So I don't know if I pay as much attention to the beginning scene as I'm just watching this guy.
Here, I'll refresh your memory. So the opening scene essentially is a banquet hall, and there's obviously someone who's getting an award, and he starts giving, he's always up to give a speech. He's an elderly man, and he's giving like a limerick that's about just poop and crap, right? I forgot, he uses a variety of words to describe it.
He cuts the lady's finger off. Yes, so okay, so again, we're all at that point. Jeremy, to your point, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you. Maybe I shut that out of my mind, but yes, he did. He said, sorry, Margaret, and cut her finger off with a steak knife. And first off, it was not even a big steak knife. So how do you get through the bone and cut the finger completely off?
Fergel, I want to argue with you about that. Well, not just that, I have actually stabbed my friend Tony in the hand with a steak knife at a TGI Fridays, and I almost cut his finger off. And I didn't mean to do it. It happened, and it didn't take a lot of effort. So you can do it. It doesn't take much effort to cut
okay, I'm completely, I guess I'm completely...
He kept kicking me under the table, and I didn't care for it. Look, I don't know, but that's a true story. I honestly did that. I had to pay to cut his finger, sew his finger back together. Anyway, the fair question, Chris. This is not a needed scene. I didn't hate it. I think it sets the tone for like letting you know this thing is going on. So when he gets this call, you're like, I bet it's tied to this thing that happened at the beginning and some weird guy's making people do stuff. But I don't think you need it. It's unnecessary. It could have started out with just Elliot kind of his life turning to shit. I would have been fine with that. I didn't need the beginning because there's nothing that comes back to it. There's no callbacks to that scene anywhere in the movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they did not have the scene, I think that because it kind of tells you how far it's going to go.
Right.
And without that, we could be like him and not know how far this is going to get to, because it does get crazy. And we'll get to that in a bit. So I think if they had removed that scene, it would have been more like, oh, you make him kill a fly, he has to eat a fly. Like, how bad can this really be?
Well, I mean,
and then we find out.
I think you could look at the promo poster for the movie and realize how bad it can get. I mean, I think that takes away from the viewpoint of the viewer going to that movie, because the promo poster of the movie kind of leads you into how bad it's going to get. It doesn't look that great.
Well, like all horror movies, like Saw and any of those, you're there to see how bad it gets. Not like, oh, I can't believe it gets that bad. You want to see how creative the writers are.
Yeah, but that first scene, yeah, it shared the horror of it and for he would do for money, but it didn't really give me any tie-in to. That's the point. Like I'm surprised. That's the part. Like I just didn't understand. That voice was great. I mean, the tone was great. The way he said it was great, but I didn't get anything. I knew it was longer, so it's like the escape room. So I got that, but it just didn't. It didn't do anything. It gave me a lot of different scenes without really tying it together. I mean, I tied it together, bully and things like that, but I guess it just didn't fit right. It just jumped so far advanced, and I'm just like, wow, that's dark. You're getting really dark here.
I would agree with Chris. I would push it farther. I think this scene not only was not needed, it's kind of a detriment to the movie, because I like the idea that you wouldn't have any idea how dark it's going to get until later. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Tough Turf. It's got James Spader as a guy that's like running a gang, and these kids come to town, and at first it's like mild bullying at school, nothing crazy, and by the end they're setting warehouses on fire. Like it goes up so fast that it's crazy and out of control. And this movie would have that same arc, except that you see at the beginning that it's going to be warehouses on fire, right? So you're like, oh, okay, I can't wait to get to warehouses on fire. I think it's actually worse because it's in there.
Yeah, and I think his path, and we'll get to that in a second, actually does get crazier than that old man's one did at 13.
Yeah, and then it ends even crazier than it began. And and there's another line that we didn't get. I mean, I get it. Like, I just watched, so you guys have seen the movie Weapons. I'm just going to assume that both of you guys have seen
I have
the
not
movie.
seen Weapons yet, but I need to see Weapons.
So when you see that movie, you'll think of this movie. You'll call back to this movie. Even if you think you're following, you literally will. That's the best I can think. Except Weapons does it extremely well. And so while it does angle out at some point, you're like, God. But when you really finally get back to seeing it, it took me a couple times seeing it. But when I got to, like, this movie just kind of missed its mark. Like, it had opportunities, I think, and a great actor cast, but it just, when it was trying to hit, it didn't get there. And I would have loved for it to get there.
So why don't we talk about the escalation? Jeremy, you said it before. It starts off with him getting a phone call, and it tells him to kill a fly for $1,000.
Specifically the fly that, he's like, this fly's been bothering you. So someone's watching him somehow. He knows it. He can see that this fly's bothering him. He's like, kill that fly that's bothering you. And then he does. And he sees the money go in his account. And then the guy's like, now eat that fly. And I'll give you $3,500 or pay for credit card or whatever he says. But it's a big chunk of money. And he's like, what do I have to lose? I've already gotten this $1,000. Worst case, I eat a fly that I killed. It's not like he's like, eat this fly that's sitting in dog shit. He's eating a fly that he just killed in his car.
And it's on, you talk about they can see him because he's on an abandoned road and he has no idea how they see him. So these people obviously have the ability to look through things. And this is not a smartphone where they can see through the camera.
No,
it's an old
that's what was
Nokia.
weird. They seem to have like eyes on him in every personal aspect of his life. That's made it very interesting. That part and the voice. That was that actor, the voice actor, that was his last role before he died. He had a huge history. That was his last role before he died. His voice was phenomenal. I'm thinking of that other movie, too, that I saw recently, Locked. That was a great, Anthony Hopkins did a really good job using just his voice only to torment that other guy. It was great.
So it goes from kill a fly, eat a fly. He goes home. He's relaxing. The next day, he gets a phone call again. They're at a picnic with his family. Tell him, now go make a random child cry.
That started the whole chain of events. Stupid, and it continued to move for that. That was pretty mean, though. But the parents' response, throwing trash cans at the car. Did he tell her to go to an orphanage, that they want to drop at an orphanage? Was that his crime?
They were, because of what she did. Like, it's all about like blaming her for the fact that her parents. Now, first off, that's unrealistic. No child ever believes anything you tell them. But secondly, why would you go to that? You could just push your child. You just push a child over, they cry all the time. No, easy done. Just walk into one accidentally by the playground. And they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I was on the phone not paying attention. I'm so sorry. Kids crying. You would have gotten your money. I don't know. He went too far with it, because even think about, maybe I'll knock a kid over at this playground. He's like, I'm going to tell that girl that her parents don't love her. Like, that's a hard jump. It's a hard jump. But that was his choice.
That was a
wasn't
hard
a challenge.
That was his choice.
But later in the day, he is told to burn a nativity scene built by blind children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
out of a church. He's at the church with his father, and he
sets the church on fire. Yeah, he literally has to push the alarm. He sets the thing on fire, and then he has to go have coffee with the dead guy.
Actually, he He didn't set the church on fire. He thought he set the church on fire, but that doesn't matter. He burned this thing, and in the process, he also saw the church was on fire, and he thought he burned the church down.
It goes from there to he's fleeing the burning church that he may or may not have set on fire, and they tell him to follow some homeless guy because he's got to trade an ostrich
they buy
for his clothes. Which is funny because they show the ostrich coming. That was actually an emu, so it was actually an emu, not an ostrich. But nonetheless,
what?
Man, now the movie's not believable. Before I was all in, but now that I know that it was not an ostrich, forget this movie. I'm out.
Yeah, I saw the bird come through. I was like, "That's an emu." And only
You're
reason
the
I know
only
that
person who's ever noticed that.
Was that because you watched those Liberty Mutual commercials and you're like,
no, it's actually the Australian war. No, the Australian emu war. This big thing happened in Australia where the Australian army lost the war against the local emu population. Go look it up. It's hilarious. But that is why I recognize emus versus ostriches.
Wow, that's amazing.
So anyway, so he goes from there to go, Fergel, you said he has to go buy a dead guy a cup of coffee, but he doesn't know he's a dead guy at first.
No, he doesn't. And so the whole thing, and then it starts taking a darker turn. And the way the guy is going, it just, every task gets a little darker up until the hotel room task. And you're like, what the fuck?
We're not there yet.
No, the reunion's the worst. Yeah, the reunion's the one. If that's the one you're talking about, the hotel room, that's the one where he kind of takes a turn. But the dead guy getting a cup of coffee, he doesn't know. He's still freaking out. Of course, the police show up and happen to be at the same place he's getting this dead guy, like a weekend at Bernie's cup of coffee.
How did he know Section 306 of operational code? Because he goes to NA or AA meetings? He just happened to know police code regarding drug drinking on the job? Because he took a pretty strong stance against that cop for being a timid dude.
Okay, if I remember correctly, so he goes to the cafe, he has to buy this guy a cup of coffee, and he has to get it to him by 4:00 or he loses.
On the dot, so he literally snatches the coffee from across the aisle.
He steals it from a cop to give his dead friend a cup of coffee. But I think when he's walking away from it, he's talking on the phone to the game show guy and saying he was making it up, the code and stuff like that. Like he had no idea what he was saying. He just got away with it. That's why he was. I
guess you're true. They wouldn't know the rules either, right? Almost no one knows all the rules of anything, but they don't know every law. They just know
But the way he took that was like it was a complete change of character. And I guess that showed you how dark he was willing to get.
You got to remember at the beginning of the movie, his boss told him he was a coward and he would never stand up for himself. So now he's getting confidence. It's important to the story. So as he's going from a scared little man to all of a sudden getting a ton of confidence, and he pulls these things off. He's amazed he can do this, no matter how bad it is. And he does such a good job. They give him a bonus challenge. Say, hey, you get a free sin out of this.
Yeah, they definitely did. And then he hit the guy in the face at the hospital, and he's like, he literally just like, oh, yeah.
You were like 2 to 3 cents ahead of us always, because he actually gets on a bus with a clown.
Yes, it does.
That's not a challenge, though. That's just a fun time. That's not one of his challenges.
That's not a challenge. So that's just, it shows up, a city bus shows up, and he just jumps on there, and there's a clown.
His name's on the bus. His name is on the bus, so he knows it's for him.
Now, do you think that guy was also in his own version of the challenge?
I think the challenge has been running that entire town, to be honest with you.
I thought a lot of people that may have been involved, like I thought the guy in the next challenge was involved with the challenge, and maybe he was.
Well, I think so he takes a bus to some outskirts to some rundown motel, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they set up a place, a tarp down. Who's reunion with it? It's some guy from his middle school that used to pick on him or something.
Yeah, beat up on him and his brother, and then
from shop class.
From shop, Mr. Fishman's shop class. That's what happened. And then he tormented him to get him to cut his arm off. I'm right where I need to be right now. He tormented him for 10 minutes, and the guy's like,
he's paid $100,000 to cut his old middle schoolmate's arm off.
Yeah, and then
there's a nurse there who has local anesthetic, and she leaves.
Yes. I mean, she's dressed like a Hollywood nurse. He takes her to the hospital. He's like, oh, and here's the arm in the bag of ice. And then he's like, well, you got to file a report. First off, you hand somebody an arm. Maybe the rules have changed in Maryland or Virginia, but if I hand an arm in a hospital, don't I got to stay for a police report?
No. When you drop your friend off at the hospital with a finger you stabbed with it, for sake of, you just yell, he fell, and you walk away.
Just be confident about it. So then he gets another bonus challenge because the brother of that guy shows up and he beats him with a chair in the hospital.
That was a confident move. That was a super confident move. He walked in. That was the first time I saw that guy. That guy was much bigger than him. He literally just smashed a shop. But then it went awfully dark with wasn't it the motorcycle in the next one?
No, the next is the reception.
Next to the
The
reception, goes his,
reception, I didn't really pay a lot of attention in that because that seemed to drag on, but he had to break a lot of glass and then turn himself into cops, correct?
well, okay, the thing about this part is you notice the cops show up and he's freaking out that it's for him, but it's actually for his brother because his brother had
Correct.
exposed himself.
Yes.
Was that exposure? Well, I guess we can say that for the twist down the road.
Yeah, let's talk about the twist. Well, okay. He says that he got in trouble because he exposed himself to a child. He's like, I just wanted to show it to her or whatever. And of course, his brother is special needs. He does a lot of unexplainable things. He had talked before about how he got fired from his previous job at a fast food place because he was like making eyes with a girl. So like that was a believable thing to be like, okay, he did that. So he lets his brother escape. And he decides he's going to be able to twist this challenge, which is to basically trash his own wedding reception, break all the crystal, urinate on flowers, all this other stuff. And so he basically is like, okay, he tells his fiance, like, look, I've got to get my brother out of here. I'm going to do a distraction. And then he does all that stuff. So he doesn't tell her why he's doing what he's doing by the rules of the game. And he gets away with it somehow without losing his future wife, without losing everything.
Into the police. Yeah, that was an like that. I think, again, that's another part of the whole thing where it starts to go off the rails. And can we talk about the dad yet, or we got to wait a few more chapters?
The dad?
Yeah, because
we're only at 9. That's the end.
Yeah, we got more. You got to get through all 13. The next one was to get arrested.
He's told to get arrested, so he removes a chair, gets arrested. He's now being interrogated.
Yes.
And he has escaped the police station.
Yes. Can we stop? And how, I mean, can we stop? I mean, so, I guess he gets the whole thing. That was a lot of series of really good events in his favor. And maybe those police officers are slightly inept because he literally had a loaded gun. He did not seem like the guy to prep a loaded gun through a police room.
Well, in the B storyline, which we haven't really talked about, that we're learning the lore of this universe. And some of the cops are in on this.
Well, you don't know. You're not sure who's in on it, but it's a much larger, like, who's in on this, who's not in on this, you're not sure. So he does get away, but you kind of think, like, perhaps someone on the inside is helping him get away with these things. Because until he quits the game or fails a challenge, when he's finished at the end, they've promised him he gets away with all this stuff. Like, it all goes away.
Materially interferes. If he materially interferes, he'll lose his money as well.
So he escapes the police station by jumping out the second story window, and now he's running. He's lost his phone with a chair. But he's lost his phone. It's in the dumpster.
He's hallucinating a little bit because he's starting to think it's getting very paranoid. This is where the paranoia starts setting in.
Yep. And not to go blow by blow, but he finds that old lady thinking she might be part of it. She's not, but she is. And a phone rings.
She's part of it. Yes. And the phone rings and her phone rings, right?
And it says to him, he has to string up. Oh, no, she tells him, you need to pull this clothesline and hook that for me.
He thinks he's just helping her because he believes she's not in on the game.
Yes.
And then she's like, can you help me with this? But she can't speak English or whatever. And he tries to help her hang this clothesline up. And then
that's right.
He's like, is that it? And she's like, no, and closes the door. And that's when he realizes he's actually drawn this metal wire across the road, and these motorcycle gang or motorcycle club, it doesn't look like it's a gang, is driving quickly at the line.
We're going to decapitate people.
He got a deposit, and then he realized what's going to happen. So he knocks his line down, and then that's when we see.
And that's when he's like, I'm not alone in this game. No!
Well, he knew there was another player. He was told at some point there was another player, I think.
The police station.
Yeah, at the police station. And then whoever did it first wins. So it's not just there's someone else playing, it's that there's one prize. And if you don't get to the 13th sin first, you also lose. Like, it's another rule that's been added in. So he sees the other person hanging up the line. And that's how he knows, like,
and
okay.
all those people get decapitated. Right. And you have a guy crawling on the ground with half his brain. He's like, look at this, I'm a millionaire. Where a guy is just walking by him on the ground with half his brain hanging. Oh,
he's not a millionaire. He's already told him he's done with this game. He doesn't want to play anymore. He's out. He didn't quit yet because I guess he hasn't failed a challenge, but he's like done. That's when he's realized he's out. He doesn't want to do this anymore. And he's got to stop the other challenger because whatever he's going to do next is awful, right? So he's like, not only am I done, I got to stop the other person.
And not only that, remember, he gets his clothesline down, the motorcycles go by, and we see a scene of them on a phone saying, that was the easiest $100 I've ever made.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Right. Which told you how big it was.
And then they say, turn around, go back, we'll pay you an extra $500 or whatever the number was. And that's when the line goes up and causes them all to be decapitated.
That's exactly right, which tells you how big it is. This is where a movie like this, if you actually, and again, they had big names all throughout this. Even a big name company took both these two movies. But if you had just connected better dots, you could have told a better story.
Have you ever seen the movie The Game?
Yes, the Michael Douglas game.
It's very similar to that. Like there's this
I
behind
was
the
thinking
scenes
that. I was thinking,
organization.
or Escape Room. Have you guys ever seen Escape Room? That spawned a lot of sequels. It's a great movie in terms of a whole organization that's much bigger than you think it is, that is much more globally quiet, paying off of shit like what we watched tonight or today or whenever you guys watch this movie. This is like, that's that kind of stereo. So again, I'm not saying you make the sequels, but I just think it was gratuitous.
And if you guys out there have not seen The Game, I recommend just go seeing it. So you're right, Jeremy, he decides to stop the other player and he chases him down, ends up after a low speed chase in a dump truck and an ice cream truck. He ends up back at his father's home. Because
he was chasing that person who he thinks is now in that building.
That's right.
He runs into the building and he's like, okay, it's just my dad by himself. He's like, okay, are you all right or whatever? And then he hears the toilet flush.
Yes, and his very winded brother comes out. Very sweaty, winded brother.
And that's the first twist of this movie, is that his brother is the other player.
Are we giving the whole thing away? Because can we get to this?
Now we're getting to this. So, which means that him exposing himself to that child was probably part of the game. And his brother's the one that put the other lineup that killed all those bikers.
Right.
Like from the movie Ghost Ship, by the way. That reminded me completely of the movie Ghost Ship. Have you seen that before? Yeah, there's an opening scene, a cable goes by, cuts everybody in half.
Ghost Ship, yes, that was a really well done. That was as close as you get. When I was in the Navy, we often talked about, we were shown videos of what happens when a line under tension snaps and the snapback on the line under tension. I've seen it take apart metal like it was just nothing. I've seen it cut through a 5-inch gun turret in the front of a ship. Just a simple line with the amount of pressure snap back on that. Yeah, it'll do some damage.
So the first twist, his brother's the other player, right? And then we get the next twist.
That how dad, I'm just going to ruin it for everybody. Why not?
Just say it.
Dad that's how he got his millions, which somehow he poo-pooed all away and ended up losing his house. But he got his millions because he killed mom as part of that 13th challenge, which means his family's been targeted for like 35 years.
Well, apparently, but it's not just his family. It's a lot of people because like the bikers were in on the game. You know that there's some other people involved in the game. You're not sure if that guy at first, the guy that's riding around in the RV with the thing, is he part of the game or not? And it turns out he's not. But there was a lot.
The 80-year-old guy was in there.
The guy with his arm from the hotel, was he in on the game? Like, you're not sure who's in on the game. That said, this is where I think the movie itself broke its own rule, because he's telling, Elliot's telling everybody like about the game, which you're not allowed to do. And he didn't get disqualified. And he should have been disqualified immediately, because everyone else that gets disqualified, it's like as soon as they make a mistake, it's like DQ'd or whatever on their phone. He didn't get disqualified, even though he's telling everybody on earth, he's yelling out in the street during the bikers how he's done with all it. Like, don't do this. He's getting in the way of the game. None of those rules popped up then till you get to this point in the movie. And now they're like, okay, well, now we're going to ignore those rules because you're at the last challenge. It doesn't matter.
Sir,
that's
to sort of change gears real fast. We sort of alluded to before, but there's that scene in the RV with the conspiracy board. And I think it's important because you guys kept talking about this has happened before. The conspiracy board, it says it all started in Rome originally, and it's been going on for hundreds of years.
That's where they have the right teller of that history piece, right? If that was your conspiracy theorist, that gentleman from Constantine, and all the other shows I seem to have been talked about this evening for this one guy, that would have spawned, again, even if it's a 90s, and it was clearly an earlier movie, it had that feel to it. That would have really, adding that element and expanding upon that element would have made that movie much more cool.
So there's a seal with a fly in the center and some Latin around it. Mm-hmm. Do you guys take a look at that?
It's on a lot of stuff. It's on the keys on the car at one point. Like, it's all over this movie.
Yeah, so I was looking for what that is. I actually froze the movie and like wrote down the Latin for it to get it translated. So understand, my Latin is terrible. But it's like Solido cum bufu arum ad gundum dodorum or something like that. Anyway, what it translates to loosely is
drink your Ovaltine.
Drink your Ovaltine. Seriously? That is the best. I have the face of the kid from that movie. I just do right now. I'm like, what?
But what it really translates to is dancing with a golden toad for the joy of the gods, which to give you an idea of what the whole point of this whole thing is all about. They're just trying to mess with people, for the people, the elite, the top 1%, to enjoy this happening.
I mean, but how are they enjoying this happening as such? So that's a part that no one ever gave me clarity on, because are they literally looking through government satellites on these people? Because there's nothing, there's no drones.
Well, they're using CCTV cameras everywhere. But remember, they actually had a caller on the game show in to ask a question.
Yeah, so how are they getting this? I mean, but again, how are they getting to know every detail in every place, even in houses, apartments? Are they building small little cameras into every I mean, have they, is the infrastructure, that's the part where I'm just like, what the? That's where it starts to lose me because I realize what the technology is today and I realize what it was back then. And I'm like, how are they? Well,
This movie's only 10 years old.
Still, there's been a light year change in technology surveillance that's from 10 years ago.
So the way that the last sin, which we find out, is he needs to kill a family member.
Yes.
Both of them. Their challenge for both him and his brother is kill a family member.
That's how dad short circuits. And dad hates him that much that he's not going to let neither of them win.
No, he loves them enough that he doesn't want them to win because it ruined his life.
Oh, because I actually thought it was because he hated them because he propagated such hate throughout the whole movie.
Well, he
hated himself.
He hated himself. He said that it ruined him. No matter how much money he got, it ruined his life, all the money, and he hated himself for it. And I'm not going to let you make the same mistake I did. And he cuts his own throat. Now,
I also would say he was still alive. He could have stabbed him right in the heart and still made that happen. But he didn't do it.
But the thing is, now there's only 2 relatives left.
Yeah. And so the other guy rushes at him. He shoots him. He's feeling all horrible, just like that one movie. What is it? Cabin in the Woods, where you're like, damn it, I let the Wolverine attack. And
our boy Elliot was going to just end it. Like, we're done. Let's go home.
Right.
No, we can make it. We can make
this work. The
crazy
brother was the smartest one of all.
Well, his brother was, I would say he's the smartest one of us all, but he's like, he wanted to win so bad. He wanted to be a winner so much that he was willing to kill his own brother.
Did that make sense to anyone, by the way? Was that
again,
reasonable?
If you don't, one of them was going to walk out of there with a bunch of money, and since he was going to let Elliot kill his dad to get the money because he had already decided earlier, like his dad had like tortured them as kids, and especially he was like, remember when Dad like beat us and all this other stuff. So like he was willing to let Elliot kill his father and let him win the game. Like he was willing to leave the room and let that happen. Once it didn't happen, then it was like, well, he didn't want to die, even though he's clearly not thinking very clearly. He wasn't like, oh, go ahead and kill me to get the money. Instead, he's like, well, one of us has to win, and I never win, so I'm going to win. And he tried to kill his brother.
Yes.
And his brother dies. Elliot leaves them behind.
Right.
Wins.
And now we get another twist.
Let's get the point. Money was deposited, $5.7 million.
He got all the money. He won the game.
Worth of destroying your life. Go on.
Which he didn't. Which I would take, to be totally honest with you. $5.7 million. Man, right now I have $17 in the bank. I would love $5.7 million.
And then we get another twist.
Yes. It was all a dream. He woke up the police officer, Ron Perlman, whose name I can't remember the actual officer's name, is the mole in the police department, at least one of them. And he's at least the one that's coming to clean it up. He's going to make sure that there's no charges, anything else. He's coming to clean it up. And instead of, while he's on the phone with the guy who runs the game or whatever, saying that he's taking care of all this, Elliot walks back in on him. And he's like, well, you can't get involved. You can't mess with the rest of the game now or you lose your funds or whatever. And he just shoots him.
And shoots him in the brain. Shoots him in the brain because he does not care. Just figures I'm already fucked anyway. Here's a brain dame. And
no, not even that. It's that because he could have made it out. He had an out right there. It was his chance to go.
Right
this
there.
Was his chance to stop the game. Although really it's only killing one person.
He didn't stop the game. He's just killing one person. And not even the guy with the melodic voice.
He's killing a pawn. That's all he's doing. But one thing is when we know also that Ron Perlman's the bad guy too, because in his trunk is the conspiracy theorist.
Right. He killed him.
Yes, and all the files. And he burned that. Exactly.
Yes.
He was there to stop. He was on to something. So he was like, that's taken care of, which again could have led us to this great big fast ass conspiracy. But instead we get a lot of short-ended, short-sighted situations. And it seems like almost a Kaiser Soze moment that the smart one that died was the actual special needs person.
Now, did either of you think ahead of time that the police officer was involved? Which I did. I thought early on, I was like, he's got to be involved. I don't think he's a player, but I thought he was involved. I didn't see the brother coming at all until the twist. Like, I didn't see that. Like, after it was there, then you saw, like, wait, when he showed himself off to a child at the park or whatever, that was a challenge, clearly. And, like, there's other things that clearly, like, that all makes sense now. But I didn't connect those dots until later.
I did see the challenge in the child. But I didn't see him come. He did have the Kaiser Soze moment. And I knew it as soon as he came out of that bathroom. I 100% knew the intent. And then the whole comments about Dad and the different stories all fit right in. And like they all slid into place. And that was just trickery of the camera. That was just how they shot the movie.
Yeah, I didn't see those two twists coming about his brother was involved in the game or the cop.
I saw the dad from the beginning. I saw the dad
Oh,
because he
really?
talked about his million. I did. I actually did. I thought this was because I saw the old man because they threw the old man scene in. So the old man scene said this, whatever this was bigger than just one person. So that told me that. And then the dad talked about his millions that he lost.
Okay. See, I didn't piece that together at all. And then once they said it, I was like, okay, that ties in. It makes sense. I should have seen that, but I didn't see it, him or the brother. But I did see that. I did early on read that Ron Perlman was like, he's got to be in on this. He's got to know what's going on.
I'd say one thing, no matter what you think of this movie being whatever it is, but I think they did do a good job of putting the breadcrumbs out for those twists.
Yes.
A little bit. Not too much, not over the top, just enough where like you look back and like, okay, that could work.
The movie was excruciatingly long, though. That's the problem.
Okay. Why don't we jump into that? It's 97 minutes.
It's excruciatingly long. It's meh.
See, I didn't think so. I thought this moved at a good clip because you had 13 scenes to get through, and some of them, when you got like the bonuses, they just jammed extra ones in there. I made it through this with no problem, and I thought it was paced just fine. But I do have to say, I probably have a larger tolerance for movies of this style, possibly, than you do, Fergel, and we will talk about that in a second. But I thought this was fine. I thought this was a good clip. I didn't get bored with it. In fact, I thought it moved a little too fast. There wasn't enough kind of background information. Some of the challenges were so quick and were resolved so quick, I didn't feel any danger from them necessarily.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeremy. It was quick. It was a very fast movie. I think because it was supposed to be a horror movie, I think it was paced well. If it was supposed to be like a thriller, way too fast. Because they did have to get through 13, sins. I like to look back at the movie 7, which is more of a thriller. It took a long, slow burn to get there, and they had 7 sins to get through. This had 13.
Meh.
I know you still think it's a meh movie. I'm not saying it was an amazing movie. I'm just saying it was paced well. I didn't stop the movie for anything. I just let it run.
I did.
I watched on Tubi, and it had ads.
So I watched on Amazon, and so it didn't have quite as many ads as Tubi because Tubi's got a lot of ads, just in case anyone wants to stream free Tubi. But it is free, and free is free. But I did have to fast forward a few parts, and I was like, the wedding scene when he started destroying, I kind of fast forwarded. And I got right to the call where he turned himself in. So there's a couple scenes I fast forwarded, but some of the stuff, again, I think I'm not going to say it was a horrible, like Cemetery Man, when I showed you that video, it still disturbs me. There are scenes, like it was gratuitously over the top. This was not gratuitously over. This had a lot of good pieces, poorly put together, which is always surprising considering this is such an unknown book that has spawned 2 movies by a well-known company, the Weinstein brothers, who now represent nothing but badness. But at one point, they were the titans of Hollywood.
Now, this movie, the director said, obviously, it's an adaptation of this other property, 13 Beloved.
Beloved, yeah. And
well, that's the movie. The movie was 13 Beloved. And the actual manga was 13th Quiz Show.
My Mania 13th Quiz Show.
Yeah, well, My Mania was like the book itself.
That's
and
right.
The strip was 13th Quiz. Anyway.
So, but when he was trying to figure out how to make it feel, right, he said, okay, I'm going to make it feel like this guy is like, it's like a drug addiction. It starts off small just to get out of a problem. And then it goes deeper and deeper until he gets to the point where he's enjoying it. And then he gets to the point where he doesn't enjoy it. And he's just trying to scramble to survive to get out of it. So the guy used, I'm not sure where he got the information from, if it was like personal or not, but he took the experience of being getting addicted to drugs and getting out of that addiction to be basically how he was supposed to make, he was trying to make it feel going through this 13 sins. Did he do a good job of that?
I don't know. I think it definitely caught a certain few points, but I think I read some of those articles about that. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if it caught all that. It definitely showed that you can get addicted to a certain dollar amount. Like, I think you did make a good point. The fly is already bothering you. Kill the fly. I kill a fly in my office once a day. So, and then I just got to eat it for $3,662. I might take that deal, but I don't know. It just always seemed like the guy was letting him out, giving him an out, and there was an out. So at some point, I mean,
but there is no out.
The out is $0.
Right. You walk away with nothing. And yeah, he could have done that early. But by the time he could also walk out, it was also the threat is, hey, also, we're not going to clean this mess up for you. So after the 4th challenge where he accidentally burns a church down, although it turns out his brother intentionally burned the church down, he's already in trouble. Like, no matter what happens now, the police are looking for him. There were people that saw him. There were people that saw him do some other things. So if he doesn't win this game, he's not just not going to have any money. he could go to jail for a long time. He's going to lose his wife. He's going to lose everything. So he's
So
got
this
this
is
other
the
reason to
addiction.
stay
That's
in.
the addiction, Pete. That's the addiction. I guess, Chris, to your point, that's the addiction. Because I've personally gone through that in my family, so I can best completely see that part of it. But this movie does such a meh job. They're better.
This movie ends with he's now away from this. He gets a phone. He calls his fiance up, and she tells him, "No, come home." Blah blah blah. But she also says she got a strange phone call that asked her to eat a fly, and she get paid a certain amount of money. And she decides, and she there's a little bit of suspense there. What did she say she was going to do? Now, obviously, if she's telling him this, she'd be disqualified anyway. But she basically tells him that, of course, she said no.
Right? Yeah. Why would I say yes? That's insane.
That's the original ending. Okay. There was an alternate ending to this movie.
What was the alternate ending?
Okay. Now, it took a while to find this because they have scrubbed it from the internet.
Wow.
Anyway, the way it ends is when he calls his wife up, Elliot gets another phone call from The Voice saying that they're very disappointed in him in breaking the rules of the game. He blows the phone call off. Then all the cell phones near him start ringing, and he also starts hearing all these guns being cocked. And that's where the movie ends.
That would have been dope. Like, I get, like, there's a nice snappy comment to make about the young African American woman that didn't fall for the game plan. But everybody did fall for the game plan. But the gun cocked would have been dope. I think that would have ended it really cool. What do you think, Jeremy? That would have been dope as shit.
I think it still has a sense of dread at the end because sure, he's relieved that she has not accepted it, but the fact that call happened means that game's still going on. He doesn't know who the players are. Is he targeted now? Is he going to be someone's target for this game? Will he ever escape? Now, he seems relieved. He's not thinking those things at the time. I think he thinks, okay, good, I'm out. But I don't think that you could ever get out. Now that you know this game exists and now everything that's happening, you're going to constantly be wondering, is this part of someone else's round on this game?
That's something to be thinking about. That would definitely keep you in the house. That left me thinking later on as I was typing an email to a client, that could leave me in a house. That could lead me to not want to step outside my house.
Hopefully you didn't put anything about this movie in that email.
No, I didn't actually put anything. But I sat there and thought about it for like 2 minutes.
He just tried to trade you an ostrich.
It's an emu. It's an emu.
That would be... Actually, that's the only part of the movie when the ostrich got wheeled through the police officer. That's when I was like, this is what the... That's when I texted you the other day, but when I had to move the date, I was like, who picked this movie? And now I understand, and I fully appreciate, Jeremy, I will tell you, I appreciate all views and differences. I am a horror fanatic like yourself.
Yeah, I picked this because I had never heard of it, and it was on Tubi, and I had to pay for it. So let's be quite honest. That was my decision to pick this movie. I was like, here's one we haven't done. I don't know the source material, but it's on Tubi. I don't have to pay $4 to rent this thing. Let's do this.
Yeah, our Patreon's not large enough where we can buy every one of these movies. I know, Fergel, you think it's a meh movie. I know Jeremy think this is the best movie ever, but how could they have made it better?
Didn't say that, but I think it's a good movie for what this is. I came in, I like to watch I work from home a lot. So especially when the kids are in school, I just put on whatever and I work while it's going on. I mean, just background noise. I have ADD, so I like to have 45 things going on at once. So I'll put a movie on while I'm doing my actual job. And there's tons of stuff that I've watched off Tubi that is miserable. I like found footage movies, even if nothing happens in the damn thing. And at the end, you see just someone shake a camera and it ends. I've watched all those movies.
You should watch The Session. It's a great ass movie if you haven't seen it.
I will have to watch The Ninth Session. I have not seen The Ninth Session.
David Caruso is the main lead in that movie, who you remember from NYPD Blue. Amazing movie.
Also,
never
Jane.
Actually see it. Yes. And you'll never see the bad guy. It's only a voice, but what they do with that movie is amazing. How it's shot, how it's done, it's amazing.
But my point in explaining that I like to watch movies like that is I've seen so many of these that is not paced well. That is just this slow slog where nothing happens, and at the very end you have a little bit of payoff. Or the fact that they actually had real actors, it's filmed well. This actually has a budget to it. I enjoyed this movie for the kind of movies I enjoy, where I just find something, and I rarely will turn a movie off. But on Tubi, it's probably a 50-50. And I watched this all the way through. Not even I don't want to watch this. I was like, this is great. I enjoyed this. Now, I did go back, like I said, and I read through an untranslated version of this story. And they did keep a lot of things. It is about a guy who's down in his luck of some sort. His first challenge is to kill and eat the fly. So that's in there. Some of the sins that the conspiracy theorist guy said his wife did, like eating the dog and stuff, that's challenges in the manga that he has to do. It's not graphic. It's very, I don't want to say it's supposed to be funny, but it's not as graphic as this movie is. But that's a challenge in there. And the original movie, the adaptation 13 Beloved, ends with him challenging his dad, and like his dad's the other player and he doesn't realize it. And that's very similar to the end of the series. I don't know if it's supposed to be just his grandmother or some old lady, but she's the contestant and his last challenge is to kill her, but it's just to kill a family member, and it turns out she's the other person running through that. So like they did have a lot of the same feel to this that the manga did. That said, I only found it out way after the fact.
That's a lot of research for a short-term movie. And I appreciate that for our show tonight. I didn't do as much digging on this one because the comic connection, I go back to my original story that this feels like a chicken and egg because the writer, the creator of the comic, really was also the creator of this movie and the creator of 13 Sins, sort of in that whole vein. So I'm wondering if this was written for particularly the screen or if it was a comic that was adapted. I don't know because it doesn't, this one,
The comic came out well before the actual movie.
Oh, it did? Maybe it's because there was so little data. I couldn't
and
see
13
when the
Beloved
comic
was 10 years before this. So it was a good
Really?
spread of, or 8 years, but still it was a good spread of time before these movies came out.
So this was definitely a map. But it had elements. It could have done some things. I think this movie, if someone were to take it today and do something with it, but clearly it's been made twice. So if someone were to take this again, you could have some fun with this thing. But you'd have to find out when you want to do it.
This idea is around, right? To have a game show that is doing something that other people are watching and making you challenges.
Squid
Back to the
Games.
Running Man. I mean, you've got all these things. Yeah, Squid Games, the game we already talked about. Like this theme is out there and it works. There's actually a comic that just started called Exquisite Corpses. If you've read any of that, that's excellent. It's another like comic about killers that do this game show for rich people and they have to kill each other and possibly other people in a town, but it's all for these rich people can do
I heard
it.
about this thing, but I think if you had explored the voice, I think if you had explored more of the background, like the idea of the conspiracy theorists to Rome, that's where you remember it's always angles, even the same storylines, the zombie storylines, it's always angles, finding a different way to tell the same story.
So it's a neat concept. I think this is done okay for what it is. It's not going to blow your mind, like as far as this kind of like if you're looking for a high budget thriller, this is not a thriller. You talked about 7 earlier. This is not compared to 7. This is more like Saw. If you thought Saw was like an edgier seat thriller, this is for you.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like, I think it need to lean more into like the horror genre because there was a little bit of comedy in there. There was a little bit of, it felt like a thriller at times, but I understand why you feel it was a meh movie. But it was a great second screen movie, meaning if you put it on and you're doing something else, like typing up an email or on your phone, it works out great.
But that was the hard part because this movie was visual. This is a visual movie. So, I mean, everything about the movie and seeing the characters' development is a visual representation. I think that's part of what makes this movie visceral as it jumps the ship and moves forward. So I actually have a TV right in front of me. I'm looking at the TV as I'm talking to you guys. I'm seeing what's going on in the world today. But I think that, I've seen movies. I've been in movies like Cemetery Man. You can't look away from Cemetery Man. Like an eye just keeps coming up no matter what you try to do. This movie feels like you got to watch it to see it.
I really think Cemetery Man has scarred you significantly.
Well, that movie was disturbing.
This is a fast enough movie. You have to pay attention to it. You can't just put it on in the background. I tried that and I ended up I was like, I'm just going to have my lunch now and watch the rest of this movie. I didn't bother like trying to continue to work while I was watching it because there are enough things going on. It's a fast enough transition between
That's a
these
long
sins
lunch.
to cram it on the end. So I work from home. Don't keep track of what I'm doing.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you guys want to see them do a further exploration of the Golden Toad world?
Yes. I like the Golden Toad. The Golden Toad needs to be spoken about.
I don't think you need to specifically go into the background of this movie and this Golden Toad. There are other things that have taken the story that do give you more details, and I think that has been done elsewhere. So you don't need to delve into it here. It is the more interesting part of after this movie's over is like, what's the history of this? What happens after this? But I'd rather go on to something else that's a similar theme and let this lie as it is.
You don't want to go back on the Golden Toad?
Nah, I have enough time riding the Golden Toad. I'm all right.
Man, I think nobody gets enough time on the Golden Toad.
So yeah, the movie's on Tubi right now. It's free, but should people go out and look for this movie? Or just let this one fall into the dustpan of history?
On Amazon Prime, not Tubi. You have to voice or type it in search because it's not just going to pop up in your For You. But if you look it up, I would probably avoid Tubi because Tubi has about 175 commercials in 97 minutes.
That is true. I didn't realize it was on Amazon Prime, or I'd probably done that too. That said, if you like horror movies, if you like Saw, if you like things like that, then yes, I would hunt this down. I think this is fun to watch. It was a good viewing. If you are listening to this podcast because you like comic adaptations, you might not like this because it may not be what you're looking for. There aren't many movies we've covered that feel like this. This is more like what my recommended movies look like, but I don't know if it's what your recommended movies look like. If you like superhero movies, this ain't it.
Yeah. Jared, I am curious what your algorithm has been feeding you when it comes to movies.
I'm actually curious now. I mean, that might be a sideshow that we do. We talk about each other's algorithm because I know I got all kinds of stuff flowing up on my for me. I should send you. I would start bombarding the Instagram reel for Movie Smash.
I do not want to see your algorithm, Fergel. Especially after doing this show. I think people go find it. I don't think it's great enough where you need to, but you're right, Jeremy. If people like this genre of film, it's not a bad one to find, but there are better ones out there that have done the same thing.
They all go to a couple Comic-Cons. There's a few of them out there that are horror themed that are really right up this person's alley because the actors are not going to disappoint. I mean, there are movies, again, I'd go over this with my kid all the time. There are movies where actors He-Man's a perfect example where one or two actors can overact the shit out of a movie and make this thing amazing. And that voice was amazing. And that was the gentleman's last role. That's something that alone is worth a watch just to hear his voice through the entire movie because it matches just a sadistic tone. Sardonistic or sadistic?
Sadistic?
But there's a sardonic, I don't know, some other word that goes in there too.
Sardonic?
There it is, Jeremy. Thank you.
Your guys' vocabularies are surpassing mine at this moment. It's getting late. So how would you guys rate this movie? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'd rate it meh.
I rate it for me personally. This is a 2 thumbs up movie for me alone. Now, I think as a recommendation for anybody else, it's an even 1 thumb to the side. Because again, if you don't like horror movies, if you don't like graphic horror movies, because it's not incredibly graphic, but it's violently enough, depending what else you watch, this might be incredibly violent. I don't know. It's not for everybody. So this is a half thumb, but if you like Saw, if you like, Hostel, movies like that, it's not as graphic as those. I think it's more fun to watch than those. So I recommend it if you like horror, but not thrillers, because it's not a thriller. It's a horror movie.
So it's meh. You were pointing at me. I know people don't get to watch our faces on our podcast, but you're technically pointing over me. So your half thumb was giving me a meh.
I gave it 2 thumbs for me personally, but that's not
for you.
The
I
rating
definitely
is
agree.
For
I love
other
that
people,
process.
and the answer is half a thumb.
I would give it a silver toad, whatever that means.
A silver toad?
Not a golden toad. I'll give it a silver toad.
Well, a golden toad does feel good.
Any final thoughts, guys, before we head out?
No.
Not on this. I can't believe we talked this long about this movie.
I did say before we started, Marvel Zombies is coming out. And I do think, again, I know it's been a lot of stuff, but I think you guys got to give some love to Doomsday. I don't know if it's going to be as good as they say it is, but if some of the storylines I've heard are reasonable, this movie may break some records potentially. But Marvel Zombies is fun because it shows us Mahershala Ali as Blade.
I am so far behind on the Marvel movies right now. I haven't watched Thunderbolts yet.
Well, you're not missing much, except for the end scene.
As we head out, guys, Jeremy, where can people find you?
Well, you can always find me here every other 2 weeks talking to you and Fergel about bad movies or superhero movies. But you can also find me talking about video games, bad and good, at Retrovaniacs on the off weeks. You can find anywhere you get podcasts.
And Fergel.
Oh, well, I'm always getting my nerd on, so I wish you could see getting my nerd on collection. But I'm just out here trying to push out the collection to folks, working with other people and helping them sell collections, creating my book, and doing a million other things as well. So just keeping it real, getting our nerd on, and building the empire back.
And for me, you can always find me at All Panel Creations. We're always building some piece of nerdy furniture over there. I want to thank you, our listeners, for spending some time with us today. And for our Thai listeners, let us know how close this is to the actual source material because we cannot read it. Send us a note over at movie-smash.com, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. This has been Movie Smash with Chris Roberts, Jeremy Parmentier, and Fergel Amayo. Produced by me, Chris Roberts. Executive produced by Off Panel Creations, LLC. Movie clips provided by the respective studios. You can rate and review the show at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You might even find your review read on a future episode. Got a question for us? Visit us at movie-smash.com and send us a note. It too can be read on a future episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Movie Smash wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I am a horror fanatic like yourself.